How are your skills in the dating arena? Are you confident to make an approach, nail the first impression, and start a conversation out of thin air? Do you wish that there was a secret formula to become naturally attractive and find your way to social freedom? Today, I chatted with a good friend, author, and personal development coach for men, Jason Rogers, about how to overcome objections, increase confidence, and nail the first impression. Jason is the founder of peakunderpressure.com and is a regular contributor to the Good Men Project. His insight and outstanding posts and video courses have helped thousands of men master the dating game and build authentic, natural confidence. What he coaches on is much more than pickup style tactics, and his website is full of incredible testimonials that prove that his systems work. So, if you're ready to step up the dating game and make that impression just a little bit better, then sit back and relax and enjoy this epic interview with the one and only Jason Rogers. Hello everyone, today we have Jason Rogers on the show. Jason is an author and a personal development coach for men. He's the creator of peakunderpressure.com and the founder of Pink Incorporated. He's a personal development brand that is dedicated to helping men grow every single day. He's also a regular contributor for the Good Men Project. He writes some incredible content, and that website gets over 5 million visitors per month. So there are a lot of people reading his content, and we're very glad that he's taken time out of his busy day to be with us here. So thanks for joining us, Jason.
I really appreciate it. It goes both ways. I'm really excited about this one. This will be fun.
Awesome. Now, in your own words, if you don't mind, can you tell me a little bit about what you actually do in a life in the day in the life?
Yeah, absolutely. Really simply put, I help gentlemen really do two things: build confidence and date. Those are really the two things from my life experiences that I found through my struggles. It wasn't clean, and we can talk about that if you'd like. Certainly was a mess to get to this point to where I'm grateful to be able to do this for a living. But those are the two things I do in a nutshell, whether it's through writing or content, kind of like creating something like this. This is a more dynamic video, but video content, blog content, or coaching clients, all of that fun stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, we don't have to go too deep in. You can give me the Cliff Notes version, but how did you decide that, after your own transformation? I know you said you used to be a shy, more introverted, a little bit of social anxiety. How did you get through that? And then what made you start wanting to help others with what you've learned?
Absolutely. I'll see if I can do the short and sweet version. I'll start with where I was at when I was a teenager. I'm only 26, so there's not been a ton of life history. So I have to go back to my teenage years to tell the full story. But when I was 16, 17 years old, I used to get really anxious just to order pizza. There was one story where my parents were like, hey, order a double, pepperoni with the Supreme and this and that. And my heart was just racing through, unbelievable amounts of anxiety about calling for pizza. That was one of the first experiences I realized, this is a little out of hand. I need to get this handled. There were a couple of other experiences after that that really illuminated my lack of, I would say, social skill, confidence, and this anxiety that was pervasive. I gave a speech in front of a lot of people. I was a valedictorian in my community college, kind of like being the JV quarterback, right? But I was the valedictorian for my community college. So I had to give a speech in front of like 1,000 people, choked epically. That was when I was about 20. And then I transferred to UCLA, the four-year university where I was studying psychology. And for the first time in my life, I realized, what? I'm doing great in school, but my social skills, my confidence, my ability to date, all of these things that kind of create a rich life and give you opportunities in the career space to meet incredible people, to date as you want to, all those things, that's where I'm lacking. So I laid off the books a bit, actually got B's at UCLA, and instead basically talked to all the women on my campus and made all kinds of social errors. But in the meantime, learned a lot of valuable lessons about how to develop your skill set, your social skills, your confidence, all these things. Yada, yada, yada. Fast forward, did a bit of research at Stanford and realized, this academic route, while great for some people, just wasn't quite cutting it for me. And I thought, I really want to be someone that is judged by the results I'm able to get for others, as opposed to being able to rely on something on the back wall, a placard, if you will. No disrespect to others who choose a different career path, but I just wanted something where I was able to have a bit more freedom. And I was also put on the pressure cooker a little bit as far as results. I felt like I learned enough to be able to help others. And that was back in 2015 when I started Peak Under Pressure in the business. And it's been 2.5 years now. And I've been really grateful. It's been a lot of fun. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
That's awesome. Now, what were some of the biggest obstacles you had to overcome while starting this? A lot of people think you can start an internet business and a blog overnight and have tens of thousands of followers. And you and I both know that's not really how it works. So What were some of the biggest lessons and obstacles you had to overcome?
That's a good question. The biggest clear obstacle that just smacks me in the face was, so I had a YouTube channel that it wasn't big, but I built from 0 to about 7,500 subscribers. And that taken about 18 months of producing a lot of content. I mean, hours and hours and hours and hours of content put online, hundreds of videos. You know what it's like. You produce a lot of content, whether it's interviews or you're doing these videos different ways. Now, this was just a random mistake not random, but I mean a huge mistake. I accidentally deleted my YouTube channel because long story short, I deleted my own channel. I deleted my own efforts. And I would say the challenge, the number one obstacle has just been knowing that you can put in all of this input, or all this output, I should say, all this energy into something. And I mean, in my case, I was just a fool. I didn't read the terms and I thought I was getting screwed over for some subscription and I canceled. That was just my own foolish mistake. But there have been so many other examples. That's just kind of the big headline example of, you think you're going to get this output as a result of this input. And often, okay, maybe you do, but then it's not as you thought it was. You actually got it, and then you accidentally cut yourself out under the legs, or you put in all this effort and it didn't work out at all. I mean, I don't know how many times I went to networking conferences or went to this or tried this strategy, or I was going to change this and it didn't work. So you never really know what you're going to get, I suppose, in this entrepreneurial content creation, starting a brand or a business space. I like that, but at the same time, it can be stressful. I'd say that as a whole, though, it's just the uncertainty would be an overarching challenge, but it's fun.
It's like pushing a snowball up a hill is what we always kind of say. You're never quite sure where the top's going to be, but eventually you're going to hit something and let that snowball keep rolling down and you're on there. But as long as you enjoy the ride, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. That's been the one reason, I think, because I'm sure you're in the same boat, Brandon. You meet a lot of these people in this space. Some of them are grateful enough to come on something like this and chat with you. Others they have an idea, they're in the idea phase. And you see a lot of people who are in the idea phase who tend to stay there, or they just start and then stop. And I think one of the reasons why is perhaps they don't love that process of creating this type of content. I personally love it. Something like this is a blast for me. I see the way you're smiling. It looks like you're on the same page, right? And so I think that gives us that longevity to keep going, even if there's those curveballs along the way.
Absolutely. So now with your coaching, do you have any favorite success stories or any favorite stories that, you can tell that there was a light bulb moment that someone's life was actually changed?
Yeah, there tends to be. I'm really grateful. I think because I've been in the exact same situations as the guys that I help, I'm pretty niched. I've never worked a paid minute in my life with a woman. That's nothing against man or women. It's just, as a male who's only 26, I found that I can just zone in on this specific niche and understand exactly where they're going through. There does tend to be that moment, and usually it's in the form of a metaphor. I notice that with my guys, I tend to try to share a lot of different metaphors, stories, if you were, parables, where you take something that's very logical but paint it in more of a metaphor. Mm-hmm. And there tends to be that moment. I remember one guy in particular, his name is Manny. And he was really anxious, really quite anxious, had a very severe case of social anxiety, to the point where if he stepped outside of his front door, he was immediately getting the elevated heart rate, the whole nine. And I remember I made this metaphor, and I forget exactly how I told it to him, but we were in this outdoor plaza, think kind of an outdoor shopping mall. And we were just walking around. He was chatting with people a little bit, but it was mainly just an acclimation thing. And I said something to the effect of, I want you to imagine, Manny, that this whole outdoor shopping mall is your home. This is your home, my friend. This is your backyard. You are literally, he lived in the same town that we were at. So I was like, you are literally in your backyard. And these people are basically at your home, my friend. Feel comfortable here. This is your place. Relax. Get into the groove of things. And I kind of dance around a little bit and kind of help him lighten up. But it was one of those where for the first week I had been sharing these different things, and he was making some progress, but it was incremental. And suddenly, for whatever reason, and I've shared that metaphor with other guys, and like, yeah, I got it, my home, whatever. Let's keep going. What else do you got for me, coach? This was the one, though, for him where it was just boom. And I see literally his facial expressions changed. The stress lines on his face, stopped. You could just feel his body language change, his whole disposition like this. And sure enough, within an hour, he was feeling great, chatting with people. And that was really a kickstart moment. So yeah, there's usually that moment. It tends not to be this linear thing. Maybe there's that linear beginning, but usually if I do my job right, there's that moment where it does this. That's really what I'm trying to do.
Absolutely. Now, I think one of the main aspects of what you do is helping, like you said, to help them find their confidence. It's critical to showing that you're a competent human being, that you can do things when other people look at you. So how do you really help someone discover that confidence that's right below the surface that is there? You just have to try to peel back the layers.
It's a good question. And I don't think it's a one size fits all. I think a lot of times we're dealing with people's unique fears or insecurities. I know for me, just some of the stories I had in my life and some of the stories I then told myself. For example, when I was young, I was rejected in front of all of my peers when I asked this girl to prom. So for years in my own personal kind of process, I had to accept myself as being an equal romantic partner to another, because I had seen all my peers saying like, you weren't good enough. Like, you know, it's just one of those classic pictures out of a movie. So in general, I'm a big believer that taking action, which is so cliche, but I've just seen that pushing that comfort zone one step at a time really does generally get a result. But I think that specific unlock is unique to each individual. And I try to figure out what that is so that we can accelerate the process and really get where they're trying to go.
And I like that you really said that it is specific, because it's going to depend on that person, their results. But I think the key, whether it's whoever you're working with, is that introspective to figure out what are the fears, what are those. So many people just charge forward and never even look at what is the cause, what is the root cause. So it takes someone like you as a coach to kind of uncover those so that they can move forward.
I'm one option, right? Meditation really helped me a lot. Reading has really helped me a lot. Deep conversations with great friends that I trust has helped me a lot, right? I don't think there's one way to kind of have that awareness, but certainly I like to think that I'm able to help a guy, you know, by asking those good questions, kind of get down to the root. It's kind of the why train of why. So why'd you do that? Well, why? And 3 or 4 whys later, and you realize, oh shoot, this is kind of the core. Now we're at the center of the earth. We're at the crust, and then the mantle, and then the core. Like, now we're in the core. That's really what we're all, I think, trying to do. And once we get clear on that, yeah, there's a next level of freedom to say, okay, that's where we're at. Now we can create a game plan for this specific situation that may be personal to me or to you or to the client or whomever.
Absolutely. So now once you've built someone's confidence, the next step in the dating circle is to make that first impression. So what, in your opinion, what are some of the keys that someone can put the right foot forward and make sure that that first impression goes how they want it to?
Sure. One of the things I see, and I did this myself, I made this error so many times, is trying too hard. And I really made a hash of this. And a lot of guys tend to follow this similar route where they see it as this big 30-second audition or this 60-second audition where it's, okay, let's go, baby. That's this big thing. When in truth, for one, we know what we say as far as is a first impression is a small part of the pie. There's some debate, as maybe you've heard of the 7%, 7% of what you say matters. And there's some debate as to whether that study is legitimate as far as it really being 7% or not. But it gets at the main idea that what we say isn't so important. So a lot of guys are coming in thinking, all right, what's the pickup line? I get that one a lot. What's the pickup line? Or what's the clever thing to say? Look, if your brain gives you something clever to say, roll with it. But I think what's so much more important is to get your mindset right about, okay, she's a woman, you're a man. Men like women generally, and women like men generally. There's some differences. Some people who play different, but generally speaking, that's true. So let's just go at it like that. The more important things tend to be body language, facial expressions. A lot of times guys, they're unaware of their facial expressions. So they'll roll in kind of looking like this, or like, one of these and the girl's like, is there a problem? Do you need to use the bathroom? Are you going to rob me? So actually being aware of those. Just the facial expression you're showing up with goes a long way. Things like that. But really, I would say trying hard is that core that causes all those other problems, like looking like this or holding yourself like this or saying, hey, baby, one of those types of external manifestations, if you will.
Right. And that's where that fine line of practice comes in when you have preparation versus winging it. There's got to be some level of, you have an idea of what you're going to say, but if it's a line or a script, it comes off as phony, and you don't want to come in and completely wing it if you have no idea what you're going to say. So how does someone kind of balance, or is it just practice and repetition to try to get to that comfort zone?
No doubt practice and repetition is the end game that I'm always trying to solve for. That process of just repeating. Rather, it's repeating the process of shooting a video to create on YouTube, or doing an interview, or interviewing for a job, or going up and talking to a girl. The practice really does get you a next level comfort that makes everything come up a lot more smoothly. In the meantime, there's that fine line of, okay, I don't want to feed a guy a script. I'm pretty reluctant to do that. But I will give them, here's a couple of ideas. Here's a couple of themes. And a lot of times they're always amazed because I may say, just go introduce yourself, shake your hand and say, my name is, fill in your name. And then say, I was doing this and this and that. And then I saw you and I wanted to come say hi. So here we are. What are you up to? And that's the script, more or less. Hey, my name's so-and-so. I was doing this. Then I saw you. I wanted to come say hi. What's your name? I'm Jason, whatever. And one of those just like, that's the script, but it's, hey, we don't need to make it. It's a place to start. And yeah, we can be more clever if we want in time, but let's just get comfortable with the process of saying, hey, how's it going? Because in this day and age where so many people have their phones and look, my phone is just right there, that easy to grab. We're not so used to all the time having an authentic conversation. So just starting with the basics often is a great place to start.
I totally agree. And I was watching one of your videos you posted recently about eye contact. And you mentioned that, everyone's got their phone, everyone's used to digital messaging. And if you can go up and just say hello and start that conversation and maintain quality eye contact, it's a total game changer for the people who are all over the digital world and can't do the face-to-face.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. The sub-communications tend to be very, very important. You can't fake them in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I could fake a line. You could tell me, okay, Jason, you're going to say this, then you're going to say this, and you're going to say that. And I could go in my room for 2 hours. I could practice, and then I could memorize that. And if I got really good, or if I'm a little bit sociopathic, maybe I could even pull it off like it's authentic, right? And some people are just great actors. They're not sociopathic. They're just great actors. So they may be able to get that. But what about 90 minutes in when, okay, the scripts are gone, right? You can't remember scripts the whole night. Then it's those authentic, nonverbal communication cues that tend to be the real distinction between a girl feeling really comfortable and having a great time around you versus her thinking, is this guy she could feel like something isn't quite adding up, and we don't want that. So even if we're anxious, oftentimes I'll tell a guy, just say, hey, look, I'm anxious. I feel nervous about this, but here we are. Let's do this. And then you say that I'm anxious, and then suddenly it's way more easy to look her in the eye because you're no longer hiding this, I'm anxious and she can't figure it out. So if I don't look her in the eye, maybe she won't know I'm anxious. Where it's like, no, she knows you're anxious. The second you say you're anxious, now, funny enough, you can look her in the eye and say, so, what's up with you? It's just a funny way to kind of flip by just being accepting of where we are. It's really actually great fuel too, as far as what to say in those first 60 seconds. What you're thinking and feeling, great fuel, very authentic fuel. And funny enough, when you say what you're thinking and feeling, your nonverbals are in alignment because you're not pulling, you're not thinking in another part of your brain. What am I going to try to say? It's just, oh, I'm kind of anxious about this, or, I love coffee, or whatever.
Yeah, you're being present and being in the moment. If you're trying to think of some clever thing to say or what's two sentences away, then that other person can sense and feel that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
And that's one of the things we work with some of our students. They may not be in the dating sense, but just have social anxiety, talking in terms, and we always preach to go to low stakes environments, start those conversations at the supermarket, at the coffee shop, where someone is necessarily basically paid to be nice to you as a service person. Go make small talk there and start to build that confidence.
I love that piece of advice. That's something I've shared with my guys as well. And it really does work because unless if you're dealing with a 5% person on the staff, say at the grocery store or the coffee shop, who's just really in a bad day, and she probably won't be there. He won't be there too much longer, perhaps. But they are friendly, and you'd be amazed too. You go to the same grocery store, the same coffee shop. We tend to have routines. Next thing you know, you can actually know that the guy right here, I know his name is Carlos, and then there's Tatiana, and I know these different people that are in the region where I'm at, and they're friendly, and I think it's authentic. But if nothing else, if I'm trying to get my confidence up, they certainly treat me with respect, and I treat them with respect. It's a great practice ground. I couldn't agree more with that piece of advice. That's genius. Absolutely.
Now, one of the things I was reading on your blog was talking about, studying is great, reading all these tactics and strategies and social skill builders is one thing, but they have to get out there and practice and actually implement it. So how do you keep your guys accountable in terms of getting out there to actually practice and do what you're coaching them to do?
Absolutely. I found for me that I wasn't always able to get myself to take action. In the same way, I notice guys I work with or guys who I'm grateful enough to have reading my content or viewing my content, they're struggling with that same thing. And so what I developed for myself first, and then now share with the guys, and I've optimized it, is what I call a confidence building sequence. And I've cut it down now to 3 steps. Step 1 is learn one thing. Now what you'll notice, and I'll go through this, step 1 is learn one thing. Step 2 is validate yourself. And step 3 is repeat. Now, this sequence presupposes that you already took action once. And I have different strategies to kind of get a guy, leverage kind of psychological things to get a dude to take action that first time. But by having this 3-step process of one, the second after you gave a speech, approached a woman, met somebody new, introduced yourself, did an interview, any of those social tasks where you tend to be evaluated that are kind of pressure filled or can be viewed as pressure filled. As soon as you finish that, ask yourself, and this is right from Gary Keller's The One Thing, what's the one thing I can learn to help get me a better result next time? Just ask yourself that before you analyze good, bad, regardless of whether you feel like you won or not, whether the girl gave you her number or not, none of that stuff. What's the one thing I can learn? You know, maybe make better eye contact. You know what? Maybe slow down my rate of speech a little bit. You know what? Maybe smile a little more. One of those things. Second, we finish that step one, learn one thing. Step two, validate yourself. And that's where you take the time. And this is where I was lacking because I was so hard on myself. And a lot of guys are hard on themselves. And a lot of people, I think, are hard on themselves. But it's that, okay, do you know what? Pat myself on the back. Maybe literally like pat myself on the back. So, you know what? Nice job. Way to take action. Way to push your comfort zones. That took some cojones. That took some balls. That took some courage. Nice job. It's almost that internal golf clap to yourself. You're validating yourself. And then step three is repeat. Ideally, right then and there, because you have momentum now. You saw, do you know what? I learned something when I take action. I feel good. I validate myself. I'm learning to validate myself when I take action. You know what? Let's go do it again. If I'm in a networking place, let me go introduce myself to someone else. Let me go sign up for another speech if I'm at a Toastmasters. Let me go talk to that girl over there too and see how she's doing today. Let me go repeat. And so there it is. You know, it's the validate, learn, repeat sequence. And what this does is it gets a guy momentum so that he can start self-generating those positive emotions associated with taking action. And here's the key, regardless of external results, regardless of what happens, because you're validating yourself and learning every single time. Because the problem we all get as people when we do something new is we're not going to get amazing results always right away. And if we're attached to that external result, it's out of our control largely. We influence it, but how someone's going to respond is ultimately not on us, it's on them. But if we do the sequence or something similar to that, then we have a way to transcend that, to get momentum. And that really helps guys get that initial momentum to start taking action.
Absolutely. I love that. It's really like a built-in mechanism to overcome if there is a rejection, because you're taking that out of the ball game. Rejection is no longer in your vocabulary.
Literally. That's exactly right. And it's a very left brain engineering type system, which guys that I work with tend to be very analytical. And I think a lot of people are. We're very analytical, especially when we put ourselves out there. We think very rationally. Well, I took this action. I didn't get this result. Why should I continue? And it's let go of that, dude. You need to shoot a lot of free throws before you become Steve Nash. You need a lot of repetitions before you get great at your craft. But in the meantime, you're learning a lot. You're building yourself up. You're feeling good when you take action, and you're actually changing your brain chemistry and how you feel and think about yourself. So let's let go of what the girl says, or if you got a standing ovation or not, or any of those external results. Let's just focus on what we can control. That works really well, I've found.
Absolutely. So building on that, what would you say are the top 2 or 3 skills that someone should really acquire for success in 2018? What should they work on building?
Oh, wow. I would say self-awareness. Some form of introspection has to be huge, because ultimately we can't go through life always having someone aware of or really giving us feedback. We have to be, I think, great at giving our own selves that feedback we need to get to the next level. And whether that comes through a meditation practice, whether that comes through reading, whether that comes through asking yourself, what's one thing I can learn after you take action, or maybe journaling on that at the end of the day. I think a self-awareness action is so crucial. What else? It's very similar. I would say self-awareness and then self-reliance, that ability to, whether you learn systems or you just build that within yourself, the ability to do what you want to do without the help or assistance of others ultimately is always what I'm trying to coach my guys to. I can't be there for you forever, dude. You know, if I'm talking to a guy, we need to build the systems and the strategies in place so that you are self-reliant. And then if we're going to find a third, self-awareness, self-reliance, I would say probably discipline.
Okay.
They probably and I know I'm talking traits as opposed to like hard skills, but me, those core traits will help one build the unique skill set they may need, because a person in sales is going to be need a different skill set than someone who's trying to be the best write code at a tech company. It's a different end game skill set, but I think those core things, the self-awareness, the discipline, and what was my second one?
Self-reliance.
Thank you. Self-reliance. those are going to be, I think, important regardless of what external task we're trying to complete. So that would be my answer. Thank you for helping fill in number 2 there.
Of course, I totally agree. And that's the thing, like you said, they're traits, but those traits build upon who you are, your personality, and what you get done. So I totally agree. Now, I know that you are a coach to lots of men, but do you have someone that was a coach or a mentor to you as you've been growing and building your business?
Tons of authors. I mean, the books I've read, in a sense, have been my surrogate coaches and mentors and teachers. My father, I would be remiss and my parents, really, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention them in this conversation. Someone you had as a guest who's really helped me out in the last couple of years, Joe Duncan, a creator of it Before 5 a.m. on Instagram, a gentleman who we've chatted with multiple times, and he's really helped me out with different things, mindset as well as marketing. A lot of authors, though. I have to say, I give it up to the authors. I mean, just the ability to read a book and to acquire some of the best mental nuggets that somebody has and to download those essentially into your brain. I mean, what an opportunity.
Absolutely. So building on that, do you have any favorite books or book recommendations?
There's been a couple of books that have changed my life for sure. Depending on the specific audience or person I'm talking to, I do think, it's a little different for each person.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of guys, one of the books I recommend most in my blog is Way of the Superior Man by David Data. I think for a lot of guys who are kind of feeling lost about feeling like a man and dating and kind of their confidence, that book really helps a lot of guys get a bit more clear. There's so many others. I mean, there's a lot of authors that have helped me out, but I would say for a male audience, which my content tends to be aimed towards, that's the one book. I love The One Thing by Gary Keller that I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of books. Wayne Dyer really helped me kind of become more peaceful with myself. That's a very different topic. Tony Robbins, a classic in the personal development space. Recently, Tim Grover, I love his book, Relentless. There's a lot of different books, and they're very different, but those would be a couple. But Way of the Superior Man by David Data is a book I recommend for most men to check out.
Awesome. Now, a couple of fun questions here to wrap things up, get to know you a little bit better. If you could have dinner with anyone, past, present, future, fact or fiction, who would it be?
That's huge. That's a tough question. And yeah, man. Okay, let's do this. I have to say, I think, and this is another book recommendation it's going to come out but I would say one of the schools of thought that helped me most was Stoicism from the Greeks and the Romans of some 2,500 years ago, more or less. I'm not the best with times and numbers, but the Stoic philosophy really helped me mentally and with my core beliefs, with my sense of self-confidence. And so I think I would have to have a conversation with someone in that era. We may need a translator. I think they were speaking Latin at the time, but it would probably be Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus, two different thinkers of that time period who really helped me get more clear on some of the principles I offer my guys, some of the things that help me. So, let's get one. You asked one person, so I'm not going to cheat you. I'm going to go with Marcus Aurelius, the fifth of the 5 Roman emperors, who wrote Meditations, another great book. It's been translated to English, so you don't have to know Latin to be able to read it. I would have a conversation with him over dinner if I had the opportunity. He is passed away, but that would be my choice.
I think that would be a fabulous conversation. And I love that Stoicism has made such a revival over the last couple of years. As there's been more and more distractions, more and more social media and digital this and that, and people get overwhelmed. So focusing on controlling what you can control, and that being building 2,500, 3,000 years later into what it is today, just shows that these guys had it figured out a long, long time ago, and we're just finding our way back to that.
I love it. Absolutely. Whether it's Seneca or Aurelius or Epictetus, and there's others, they have some ideas and they put things in a slightly different language too, that I think is really shocking to the system, as well as Ryan Holiday, who's doing great work with a lot of kind of reviving that Stoic work. And I love his book too, The Obstacle is the Way, Ryan Holiday. But these different Stoic philosophies and thoughts and ways of expressing ideas, they are, in my opinion, shared through a different lens or through a different language, which often I think is such a nice, refreshing result in this age of personal development, self-help. And you kind of hear a lot of the ideas regurgitate. That's kind of how it felt for me eventually. Is like, I've heard this idea. I've heard that idea. And often I'm hearing the same, or I'm reading the same ideas from a lot of these Stoic philosophers, but they're said in such different languaging that it really, to me, was that shock that helped me ingrain the idea on an even deeper level.
Absolutely. So now, what's next in the Jason Rogers camp? What's happening? What new projects, if any, are you working on?
You know, I'm just focused right now on creating content 5 days a week.
Gotcha.
That's really it. And I've found a way to disseminate that on the blog as well as on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And so I'm just focusing on creating content because I believe that ultimately I have the things that people can pay for if they want to go deeper. I'm confident with what those offerings look like. But now it's just an opportunity for me to give back as well to build an audience. As I shared on my YouTube channel, that was my main audience before. So I'm kind of rebuilding that as well. But it's just an opportunity. I love creating content, as we talked about a little earlier. When you fall in love with that process of putting stuff out there, it's a lot easier to keep going. So that's really what I'm up to. I mean, I have the opportunities on my website if someone wants to go deeper, but just working on delivering the goods 5 days a week for my people who I'm grateful to say follow what I do.
Awesome. And final question, do you have anything that you wish I had asked, or do you have any final words of wisdom for everyone?
I think you've done an awesome job. I have nothing that I wish you had asked. Words of wisdom. Well, these aren't my ideas, but I will be the one to speak the words. This comes from Epictetus. We mentioned the Stoics a little bit. And I'm going to paraphrase because I always mess it up when I try to speak it verbatim. But the quote or the idea is essentially, in life, we just have two things to master. The ability to dominate factors that we can control, and then to simultaneously get really good at letting go of everything that we cannot. It's essentially this Venn diagram that ideally doesn't overlap. A Venn diagram tends to overlap. This is one of those where there's just two circles. Dominate everything I can here that I can control, and then let go of everything over here that I can't. That was something I heard from Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, that was just a light bulb. And that idea has been hashed about, I think, in personal development, self-help. But that idea said in that way, to me, was a game changer. So that would be the idea I would want to share along to others and hopefully have a similar impact on them.
Awesome. I absolutely love it. Great wisdom. I've got a bunch of notes here, some new books to add to the list, the reading list. And then for everyone, I will make sure to put your link below, book recommendations, everything. So peakunderpressure.com, Jason Rogers, you can find him. The Good Men Project, he's got some awesome articles up there. So if anyone's looking to find him, you've got him. Outside of that, I thank you so much for being here with us today, Jason.
It's been a blast. Brandon, thank you for having me, and hopefully we can do this again soon. But let's stay in touch. Have a great day. And to everyone watching, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
And that's a wrap. What did you think? Let me know the favorite thing that you learned in the comment section below. And if you know someone who is struggling in the dating arena or looking to step up their game a bit, be a pal, send them this link, send them Jason's way because he's got some incredible information for them. Also, everything is included below. If there's something that we talked about, you want to know some of his book recommendations, his website, book, programs, tips, and tricks, it's all in the description box below. Check it out. Also, click subscribe down in the corner so you never miss a video. We've got new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, bringing the good stuff right to you. As always, you can check us out at our home on the web, lifesecretsauce.com. And don't forget our brand new course, Millennial Magnetism. It's opened up. We've got some incredible material in there to help you unleash your inner awesome and become a social rock star in only 10 minutes a day. Again, link in the description box below. Until next time, ciao for now.